Okay, so we're going to look at subtractive synthesis in Ableton, and for that we are going to load up Ableton's analog synthesizer, which is this synthesizer over here. Okay, if I press tab, I go back and forth between the clip view and the main timeline view, and for our purposes right now we're going to go over to the main timeline view and load this up. Again, I recommend looking at the tour of Live. This will take you all through the different features of Live and really help you to understand how Ableton works, so make sure you take your tour of Live. Okay, so when we are talking about analog subtractive synthesis, so I'm going to drag this synthesizer called analog, and it now appears down in the lower left corner. And a lot of what we've mentioned in class, or what I've mentioned in your book, is in this synthesizer. We have the oscillator section, and then we have a filter section and an amplifier section. The menus are relevant to whatever you have clicked in this synthesizer. So what I'm going to do is just begin to experiment with the waveforms. Our first assignment is to experiment with the waveforms. So I'm going to turn off oscillator 2 to start, and I'm going to see I've got this triangle wave loaded here. You see here in oscillator 1 section, I've got this triangle wave loaded. I could also load up a sine wave, and notice this is a very pure tone. And this doesn't have any high harmonics in it. That's why it's such a pure tone. That's why it's not buzzy. This is just the fundamental of the note ringing. That's why it's such a pure tone. Whereas a guitar string, a violin string, a piano string would have more overtones, and I have a video on that you can watch, would have more overtones and high harmonics in it. The sine wave is very pure. Okay, so I've clicked on this oscillator 1, and now you'll notice that I can make it slide down or up into the note. Okay, I can make that a shorter slide. So I can begin manipulating the note right from the beginning. That makes it sound almost bottle-like or something like that. That's the way the sine wave sounds. And now if I come over here to the filter section, this will be the frequency knob and the resonance knob. Now these, I need to have a different waveform to hear these more, because this frequency knob is like a cutoff knob, and what it's doing, it's like a wah pedal. It's cutting high frequencies in and out of the sound. Okay? And the resonance knob, what it does is it just janks the frequencies right as they're being cut off, and that's why you get this squelchy sort of sound out of the resonance knob. So this is in the filter. If I click on the filter, I then will be able to manipulate this frequency knob. I've got a triangle wave set up, and I'm using the frequency knob now to adjust it. Now, over here, I can turn on LFO1, and when I do that, that is a low frequency oscillator. That is a control oscillator that's using the waveform it's generating is used to control the oscillator. It's not actually generating sound itself. Even though it's generating a similar waveform, it is not actually generating sound. It's just generating a control. And if it were electric synthesizer, it would be a control voltage that it's generating. So notice down here it says frequency modulation LFO1. So I press this, and if I turn up LFO1, you notice I'll start to get these kind of squelchy, right? What's happening now is this LFO knob is now changing. It's oscillating slowly and changing the frequency modulation. I turn the speed up, right? And this is a big part of our wobble sound. The LFO, which is manipulating the frequency knob. So again, I have to be clicked into this window here to see this LFO1. And if I turn it off, I got nothing. And if I start to slide it up, I get the LFO to alter the sound. Okay, so that's the beginning of this and what we're going to play with. We want to play with different waveforms. One other thing that we can play with is if I am in this first window, if I click on my first oscillator window over here, then pitch modulation comes up right here. And if I turn up this is again receiving information from LFO1. This will start to vary the pitch. So you see the pitch going up and down. So you can see just by experimenting with different waveforms and using the LFO to control modulation, I will get all different sounds. And this is the beginning of our experimentation. Right? If I click on frequency, you notice I can control the frequency modulation here. I'm going to take that to 0. Right? And so now what I've got happening is just the pitch modulation here. And you notice I get these interesting sounds, control the rate of them. And this is really our first assignment, to try the different waveforms, get a sound from them, and then to try modulating them with the LFO. I'm only using oscillator 1 and LFO 1, and I am modulating the frequency, the cutoff frequency, and I am modulating the pitch of the sound. And that's our first experimentation.